everyone to the Farmington High School Building Committee Project Timeline presentation. This is the second topic meeting in our Topic Thursday series, which will be held every Thursday in April at 12 p.m. My name is Kat Krajewski, Assistant Town Manager, and I will moderate today's presentation. Before we begin our formal presentation, we would like to take the opportunity to hear from town leaders on the importance of this new high school project. Today, we are joined by CJ Thomas, Town Council Chair, and Ellen Sayuda, Board of Education Chair. I'd like to now introduce CJ Thomas.
Thank you, Kat. First off, I'd like to thank the building committee and all the hard work they put in. It's been many months, and I know a great deal more hours that you've done to come up with this project. And I think you've done a great job throughout, so thank you. I'd also like to thank everyone who's attending this. I think it's very important to participate in these presentations, to learn more about it. One of the keys in the success of this project will be sharing the information you learn with others. When we did a survey in 2018 after the last referendum didn't go so well, we found most people get their information by word of mouth, that and print. So make sure you share all the information you learned today. The town council bases their decision on fully supporting this on some financial projections. And those projections were based on certain assumptions. First was fully funding all of our capital needs, our grand list growth, and also our historic average of 3% tax increases. We've kept all these assumptions in mind throughout our entire decision-making process, and that is why our recommended budget is coming in under a 3% tax increase. There is absolutely no question as to the need and all the needs at Farmington High School. So when the building committee recommended the new building option, we were unanimously enthusiastic in support. The timing of this project for bonding is advantageous. We have and will continue to see previous debt rolling off the rolls, the debt rolls that's being retired. We're therefore limiting the impact on our taxpayers. Current interest rates are also historically low levels. The failings of the building will not go away unless they're addressed. So it is your town council's opinion that a new building is the right decision, and now is absolutely the right time. Thank you, Kat.
Thank you, CJ. Now I would like to introduce Ellen Sayuda, Board of Education Chair.
Hi, everyone. My name is Ellen Sayuda. I'm the chair of the Farmington Board of Education. And again, I want to thank you all so much for joining us today. We really appreciate you engaging in this process with us and learning more about this exciting new opportunity for the entire Farmington community. The Board of Education is unified with the Town Council and the Building Committee in our support of the proposed new high school. The proposed new high school addresses all of the needs of our current high school facility and will support educational programming now and well into the future. So the time is now, the current facility, to address the current facility in a comprehensive manner. We are thrilled to share the details of the new high school facility with you in our community as we all join together to support this important project.
Thank you, Ellen. We encourage all participants to use the Q&A feature to submit a question during this presentation. There will be a dedicated Q&A section at the end of the presentation. Comments or questions can be sent to the building committee anytime by using the comment form on the website, www.fhsbuildingproject.org. Public comment is also welcome at the building committee meetings held every other Wednesday. We did have a meeting last night, so our next building committee meeting is Wednesday, April 21st at 6:30 p.m. on Zoom. Before we review the estimated project timeline, I'd like to briefly show you the process the FHS Building Committee went through to get to this point. The FHS Building Committee was established by the Farmington Town Council in March of 2019. The committee includes community members, elected officials, town staff, and school administrators. The FHS Building Committee's work was divided into two phases. Phase one is the conceptual options phase, where the FHS Building Committee was to evaluate conceptual design options from multiple architects to provide the town council with the information they need to set the net municipal project cost range and the overall project scope. This phase has been completed. After a 9-month competitive process, the FHS Building Committee thoroughly reviewed the conceptual designs from each architect, which included an option for maintaining the current facility, doing major renovation on the current facility, or building a new school. They recommended the construction of a new high school as the best solution to address the Board of Education's statement of needs. On February 4th, 2020, the Town Council unanimously voted to select the new building solution and set the net municipal project cost range at $105 to $110 million. Phase 2 is the preliminary plan phase. Here, the FHS Building Committee's work centered around designing a comprehensive solution to address the Board of Education's statement of needs that falls within that net municipal project cost range that was set by Town Council, as well as the overall project scope of a new building. While the committee was on a brief pause due to the economic conditions and uncertainties from COVID-19, they continued their monthly meetings to finalize the schematic design, work collaboratively with the Town Council and Board of Education, and continue to stay connected to the Farmington community. The FHS Building Committee is currently executing the community education and communication aspect of Phase 2, which includes summary and topic-specific presentations like the one today, newsletters that are sent to all residents and also posted on our website, and updated website information. Over the past 2 years, this committee has contributed countless hours to deliver the best solution to address the Board of Education's statement of needs. The new high school will provide a flexible and engaging learning environment for our students and the community. Next, Mark Gorilli from Construction Solutions Group will provide a high-level overview of the estimated project cost.
Thanks, Kat. The first line here shows the proposed date for Town Council approval of this project on May 11th, 2021. At this time, the Town Council will send the project to referendum. Once the referendum is set, election laws prohibit municipalities from using taxpayer dollars to advocate for the approval of a referendum question. The next line shows the tentative referendum date for June 3rd of this year. This is the proposed date for Farmington voters to cast their ballot toward the proposed new high school. Prior to referendum, we will be preparing the state grant application for submission no later than June 30th of 2021. The application holds our spot for the Office of School Construction Grants for state-funded reimbursements. Immediately following the approval of the referendum, the design team will start work on the final construction documents. This process typically takes a year to complete, which would bring our progress into the summer of 2022. Next, the construction firms will be engaged through a formal bidding process, and construction would commence in September following the start of the school year of 2022. There will be no disruption to teaching and learning during construction. There will be a fenced-off section that will be clearly marked that separates the current high school from the building site. Students could expect to start their 2024 school year in the new building following a 2-year construction period. The renovation of the 900 wing would begin the summer of 2024, along with the demolition of the remaining buildings, leaving remaining site work and relocated athletic fields to be completed by the summer of 2025. Next, Richard Sipik from TSKP will now go over the sequencing of construction in more detail. Richard?
Thanks very much, Mark. I'm going to just discuss the steps that we're going to be taking during construction. But very simply, since we are building on the existing site, while the existing building is still operational, the only way to do this kind of project is in a phased method. This is not unusual. This is typically what's done in this kind of circumstance. Fortunately, we have identified the footprint and designed a very compact form that will allow us to do this. So first of all, the construction of the new high school will be done in phases. Phase 1 will start in the fall of 2023, and it will consist of some early prep work, plus the construction of the actual new building, and then most of the new parking lots and driveways that surround the building on the eastern side of this site, as you can see by this illustration. That early prep work I mentioned would include the construction of a new temporary parking lot, which is adjacent to the town library. You can see in this diagram at the lower end of your image something called temporary parking, 130 cars. So that is one early package. And then we will also be widening Monteith Drive. This is the access drive that leads into the site, by doubling its width on both inbound and outbound traffic. And then thirdly, we'll be installing a new berm along the eastern property line. And in addition to the berm, a fence and plantings to provide screening for neighbors. So those are the early items that need to be done before actual construction can begin. We will be putting up a construction fence that's shown by the red dotted line that you can see in this diagram. That construction fence will keep that site secure. New building will be completed by the summer of 2024, just as Mark mentioned a minute ago, in time for students to arrive. Next slide, Devin. So after the existing high school is vacated and all of the students and teachers now are operating in new building at the start of the academic year in 2024, the next phase of construction, which we'll call phase 2, can begin. This phase will focus on the activities on the western side of the site, and it will consist of the demolition of most of the existing building, except for the 1928 building and the 900 wing. The 900 wing is that white rectangular block that you can see here that is going to be converted to central office space, as well as the men's and women's locker room for the athletic field activities. The 1928 building, the disposition of that facility will be determined later as indicated by the town council. Once the demolition is completed, then the site utility work will begin on the western end of the site. If you can imagine that after the demolition is done, the earth will be quite disrupted. We'll be pulling out foundations and so on. So utility work will go in for drainage purposes and then also regrading. Next slide, please. So the final phase of this construction will be a complete restoration of the site. That temporary parking lot will be removed. The grassy field will be restored, and then we'll complete the site work that you can see here labeled ball field and tennis courts. And that should be done by the spring, early summer of 2025. Next slide, please. So in summary, the proposed design that we've developed will allow for ideal construction phasing in order to minimize the disruption to the existing school. By placing the footprint of the new building on the eastern side of the site, we can avoid disrupting the teaching and learning activities in the existing building. Secondly, the construction site will be completely separated from school activities with a secure construction fence. We'll also have a temporary parking lot so that the parking capacity at the existing school is not reduced. We'll also have safe pedestrian paths. And for access to the existing school from the neighborhood, we'll have a safe construction path that will lead around the construction site. Next, I'd like to return it to Kat Krajewski, who will host the next section of this presentation.
Thank you, Richard. We will now begin the question and answer session. Devin Eldave will facilitate this part of the presentation. As a reminder, questions can be submitted to the building committee at any time using the comment form on our website. Devin will read the questions that we receive and direct it to the appropriate person to answer. So we'll just give a minute, Devin, for some people to submit on the Q&A, and then we will proceed with those.
Not seeing any questions yet, but if you do have questions, please submit them through the Q&A feature at the bottom of your screen.
While we're waiting for questions, Devin, maybe I can recap on some of the questions that we've heard in the past,
Sure.
which people may have in their minds, but may have not heard the answers to. One question that I've heard a couple of times in the past is how much larger is the new facility compared to the existing building? It's about 20% larger, quite frankly. The existing building that will be demolished is a little less than 200,000 square feet. The new building will be about 239,000 square feet. So that's about a 20% increase. We'll have more classrooms. We'll have much more space for circulation between periods. So that increase in a very compact form will be quite significant. It will feel like it will be completely different from what you currently have.
Thank you, Richard. A couple questions did just roll in. One of which is, how will the traffic be dealt with, especially Monteith Drive? Richard, could you speak to that one a little bit?
Sure. Again, this is not an unusual kind of circumstance in which we are trying to build a new building on a site that is currently occupied and will remain occupied during the course of construction. There needs to be a great deal of coordination in the scheduling of arrival and departure from the actual construction site itself. To help improve the traffic situation on Monteith Drive, one of the early phases of the construction project will be to widen both inbound and outbound travel lanes. Right now, you don't have a full 2-lane width, and so you have some traffic congestion that occurs there. So when we're done, you'll have 2 full travel lanes inbound, 2 full travel lanes outbound, so that people can make right-hand turns more easily and not have to wait for people who are waiting for a left-hand turn. In addition to that, we will widen the shoulders of the driveways on each side to allow for even emergency vehicles to bypass traffic should that become necessary. So that's one of the crucial ingredients in this plan, is to mitigate the traffic congestion that currently exists.
Thank you. Another one that came in, how will you minimize the impact of the demolition on the library? Mark is our owner's representative from Construction Solutions Group. Mark, would you be able to take this one? Oh, I think you're muted.
My apologies. So I don't believe that there is any demolition on the library, or unless we're talking about within the school itself.
I think they're asking, will that it says
Will the library be affected by the demolition of the school?
Correct.
Well, I think it's a great question. I think we're going to have some qualified contractors working on this project, and so I think we've got a good distance between the library and the existing school, and depending on what happens with the 1928 building, you'll have that sort of as a buffer between the demolition and the library itself. The demolition would take place in phases, and so we would try to mitigate any concerns with earth movement or with noise. Certainly, there'll be some noise that will have to be dealt with during that time period, but we'll most likely we'll handle it with phasing, and so it's not all at once.
Thank you, Mark. Another question we have is, did the committee look at other sites in town? Kat, can you speak a little bit about the communications? I'm sorry, the site evaluation subcommittee?
Absolutely. So early when the building committee was established, we created a site evaluation subcommittee. That subcommittee met multiple times and took a look, conducted a full review of potential sites that would be an alternative location to instead of the current high school facility site. I'm sorry. So after a comprehensive analysis of available land that's not available, land that would fit the size needed for a high school, The subcommittee did determine that the current municipal site was the only viable option. If you are interested in seeing the work of that committee, there is a thorough analysis document posted on the building committee's website that kind of goes through why each parcel that we looked at was looked at, why it was dismissed. It could have been a deed restriction. It could have been environmental concerns like in a wetland. So it was very thorough and well thought out, and that is available on our website.
Thank you, Kat. I'm not seeing any other questions at this time. Maybe we will wait a few moments to see if any more roll in
Kevin,
before moving on.
could I offer a question? I hear a great deal.
Absolutely.
I have a lot of people asking, what is the benefit to the community at large for a high school renovation or a new high school? And the simple question comes down to the reason the majority of people move to Farmington, and a great many move to Farmington for our excellent schools. We have a high school right now that is at risk of losing accreditation. If someone's looking at Farmington and we have an unaccredited high school, that could be a pretty big sway to push them away. Also, the high school is also our town shelter, which we have used in the not too distant past. And as a shelter, this current building, when people were sleeping there, eating there, I think the most frequent use was as a charging station, but a lot of people came through that building on any given day. And one issue we ran into at that point in time was the generator failed. We actually had to shut it down for a number of hours for repairs. Those are things that are really not acceptable for your town shelter when there's some major issue going on that drives people to the high school. So those are some big reasons. Another one, and maybe the superintendent or Ellen Sayuda could explain, is the other uses and the other groups that use that building, not just the students.
Hi, this is Kathy Greeter. I'm the superintendent of schools, and I can add a bit to what CJ had shared. We certainly are a facility in town that is used pretty much throughout the week, on the weekends, at night by our community. And things like performances, celebrations of learning. I know the Farmington Valley Symphony Orchestra is looking for a home, would love to perform up at our high school, but our current facility is not adequate for performances. So with the new facility, it would be, and that would be another partner that would enrich the Farmington community's experience. And that would be wonderful to have those performances near home. Our continuing education program is award winning and really has the opportunity to expand even further as we look at a new high school. We also have challenges with our current facility because it is not handicap accessible, and we want to ensure that all community members can come up to our high school and access our high school for performances and other events. We will now in the new building have room for lectures and TED Talks and other enriching experiences for our residents here in Farmington. We at this time cannot actually have statewide athletic events because of the size of our gym and the lack of handicap accessibility. In the new facility, we would be able to sponsor and host statewide athletic events, which again would be a wonderful opportunity for our residents to attend athletic competitions that are statewide. So, in summary, the new building really has the potential to enrich our community and the events and experiences that would be offered in a flexible, accessible facility that really will benefit not only our students, but all residents in Farmington.
Thank you, CJ and Kathy. A few more questions did come in. One of them is, how can we be sure that the state will pay the money we are expecting? Mark, would you be able to speak a little bit about the state reimbursement process?
Sure. So good question. The state of Connecticut goes through legislation. So all of the dollars that will be allocated for School construction grants will be allocated in this legislation session that ends in June. We will be putting our application in right after that, so we'll know what's going to be allocated. The state is well aware that the town of Farmington is looking to put this grant application in. We've been in constant communication with them for quite some time and have presented the project to them. They know this application is coming. We're very confident that they will fund this project and put us on that priority list in December.
All right, thank you. And I see one more here. Would it be possible to install a tall fence similar to what is seen along highways to screen the neighborhoods of Arwood and Briarwood during construction until the trees grow in for that berm? Richard, would you be able to take this one on?
Sure. The kinds of fences that you're talking about, highway fences, they're quite tall. They're at least 16 feet tall. And those are acoustic barriers to shield neighbors who are close to highways from the rush of the traffic, the noise of the traffic that is constantly going by. That kind of a fence is substantial and it has to be built to withstand hurricane winds. And so consequently, they drive piles quite deep into the earth and then build the fences between those pilings. I think that kind of a fence would be inappropriate behind neighbors' homes, quite frankly. Our strategy and what is included in the budget, those kinds of barriers, by the way, are not good temporary solutions. They cost quite a bit of money, which is not in our budget, and they would require stripping all the plantings in that area in order to build those fences. So I don't think they're appropriate. What we have budgeted in the project, however, is construction of an earthen berm, which would be 40 feet wide and 6 feet tall. And on top of that berm, we would plant plantings as mature as we could find, and they would be strategically placed so that we can offer the right kind of screening. We've done this before in projects and it's worked quite effectively. We've even had neighbors come out and help the landscape contractors actually place these plantings in strategically located places in the field in order to ensure that those neighbors have the proper screening. So the answer is no. Highway barriers are not part of the project, and I would discourage that from being done.
All right, thank you, Richard. One more question. I'm going to flip back over to the timeline slide again. We had a question if we could show that, so I'll pull that back up. And then another question, with so much federal infrastructure dollars flowing downhill over the coming years, why should we launch the project now? I think this, we can start with Kat here, our assistant town manager, and maybe if CJ or Kathy or anyone else who wants to jump in, they can jump in after Kat.
Thank you, Devin. I mean, I think the simple answer to that is that the needs of the high school aren't going away. We have planned for this, like CJ mentioned, the town council financially has looked at the forecast and it is the right time. We don't know how those future federal dollars are going to be allocated. We don't know what restrictions they may have on them. And again, quite simply, that the needs of our high school are just not going to go away and need to be addressed. So I don't know if CJ or Kathy or anyone else has anything to add to that.
I could add a little bit to that. The cost of doing nothing or delaying is substantial. The cost between 2017 and 2000 is a great deal. We put this project off for a number of years and we are now paying for it, and we have been paying for it in every year's budget. So I appreciate the question. And as Kat said, we really don't know what restrictions will be put on those dollars that will potentially be coming through the state and possibly to our town. And we will do our best, and our town staff does a tremendous job at trying to get dollars anywhere we can to support any and every project we have. So it's possible we can get some money to help support this in the future. we're not starting construction now, at least for, I think it's 2 years at this point. So there is still time to try for some of those dollars, but to put it off now and to put off the referendum for any amount of time would cost us dearly in dollars and cents.
I would just add that it's really important that as the funding comes from the federal level, that we have projects that have been passed and ready to go when it comes to allocating funds for those projects. So this question did come up at a board meeting this week. And I think what is really critical is that once we get to the referendum, the project is passed, then we really have a lot of options out there to apply for various grants, but the project has to pass for us to apply for those.
All right, thank you very much. I'm not seeing any more questions right now. We'll wait another moment or so.
Devin, I believe one of the questions that asked for this slide to be put up, the estimated project timeline, I think they were asking construction would start in the fall of 2022 and be done in the summer of 2024. Yes, that is correct. That is what Mark talked about when he presented the slide. And that's exactly what my phasing slides showed as well. That is the anticipated duration, yes.
Great, thank you for clearing that up. Okay, I think we're all set with questions, so I will pass it over to Ellen.
Thank you so much, Devin, and thank you all to the attendees for your questions. Very, very good questions and insightful. So we hope you stick around. To conclude our presentation, we'd like to play a brief video that provides a side-by-side comparison of our current high school with the new high school facility.
Thank you for joining me. My name is Megan Guerrera, and I'm the chairperson of the Farmington High School Building Committee. In our time together, we will review both the current and new Farmington High School. Please take note of the significant space, safety, and learning limitations of the current Farmington High School as compared to the many opportunities for engaged, inclusive, and safe learning provided by the new Farmington High School. Much of the high school was built when the enrollment was 800 students. Farmington High School approximately 1,300 students. 10 additions have been added over the years to try to address the growing student population, but there are many spaces that cannot accommodate today's teaching methods. The proposed building provides flexible spaces that can accommodate a variety of teaching methods and a variety of instruction, including individual, small group, and large group instruction. The building also creates communities of learners by clustering classrooms around breakout areas, faculty offices, and support spaces. The new facility is planned for future student population growth over the next decade. There are 23 separate entry points, sightline issues, challenges in separating the high school boundary to public access points, inadequate lighting inside and outside of the building creates a challenging building orientation. The current parking lot configuration does not provide nearly enough parking. Clear walking pathways present safety concerns and do not meet current standards for school safety. The entrance will be obvious to visitors arriving at the new FHS. The single main entrance is centrally located at the convergence of car, bus, and pedestrian approaches. A wide pedestrian-safe walkway leads directly to the front door. The school office is located immediately adjacent to the front door with a clear view of visitors approaching the buildings. During a 4-minute passing period, sometimes close to 1,000 students move through our hallway intersections. This creates crowded movement and not much time for students to get to their classes. The new FHS provides generous circulation paths filled with natural light from above. Major assembly spaces such as the library, cafeteria, and auditorium could be located along a central corridor, which is large enough to serve as breakout areas or as a lobby for those assembly spaces. The overcrowding we face at Farmington High School is experienced daily in our basic classrooms. They are occupied every period of the day, making it difficult to hold planning meetings, meet with small groups of students, or host special programs. The classrooms have ongoing problems, including a range of temperature fluctuations as a result of no air conditioning, ongoing leaks, and aging equipment. The remote second floor of the original 1928 building currently houses the art and world language departments. These classrooms are small, cramped, hot in the warm weather months, and cold in the winter. There is very little storage. In process, a completed student artwork clutters the classrooms and hallways. These spaces are only handicap accessible via the outdated and many times non-operating elevator. There are a number of students taking business classes who would tend to pursue business programs in their post-secondary education. Unfortunately, there is only one business classroom. Due to this limitation, we cannot keep up with the increasing enrollment and interest in advanced technology and business studies. Technology is at the center of 21st century teaching and learning, yet our entire data center is in a former classroom. The space is too small for the equipment and for staff to support all of our technology needs. Loud and distracting dehumidifiers are present in most of our math classrooms because of a moisture problem in this part of the building. This creates a challenging learning environment for teachers and students. The new FHS provides natural light in classrooms and other learning spaces. This photograph shows how light shelves along the windows can direct daylight upward and across the ceiling, making the classrooms very bright. The school includes movable furniture and technology for multiple learning formats, offering individual and small group configurations and greater flexibility in the scheduling of classrooms for different departments. Teacher workstations could be located elsewhere in shared collaborative spaces. The lack of space we face at the high school is evident in the amphitheater. It was originally designed for special events and meetings, but must now be used every period of the day for classes and study halls. The new FHS provides large instructional spaces that are fully accessible and that offer excellent visibility of instructional walls, adjustable lighting, proper acoustical treatment, and new audiovisual equipment. Newer technology can be incorporated within the spaces to support distance learning and collaborative instruction from multiple remote locations. Our current music room is an example of the challenges that growing enrollment can place on a program. This space is too small for the number of students who attend music classes. Students often have to practice in hallways and stairwells. There is also insufficient storage for instruments and other equipment. Most importantly, it is not ADA compliant or accessible for our disabled students. The new FHS provides rooms that can support large and small group assemblies for music practice, with the appropriate acoustic separation from adjacent spaces and with acoustical treatment within the rooms. The music room in the photograph is designed with a flat floor in order to maximize flexibility, and the movable tiered seating can be reconfigured as needs change. The room has windows for natural lighting and sound absorptive and reflective wall panels to optimize acoustics. Due to a lack of teaching space, the science labs must also function as classrooms and workspaces. There is insufficient storage for scientific chemicals and equipment, which can create a safety issue for our students and teachers. We are very careful when working with them, but are still limited due to the dated space. The new FHS provides bench-centered learning stations with good sight lines to the demonstration table. The photograph shows a high school science lab with operable windows to enhance the work environment. Ample daylighting reduces the need for artificial lighting, thereby saving energy. Durable finishes such as seamless flooring simplifies maintenance. In applied arts classes, students work with power tools and all kinds of objects. The classroom is too small to expand on project opportunities, as these types of projects require sufficient space to ensure student safety. The new FHS provides clean, safe, and organized workspaces with adequate storage facilities for materials and tools. Shop infrastructure should include acoustic separation of spaces, sensible distribution of utilities, and ample ventilation with dust filtration. For safety reasons, power equipment should be spaced appropriately and have proper safety features with emergency disconnects. There is no access to the second-level library for disabled students. The current library is not compliant with ADA standards. There is just not enough space for growth and student use. The new FHS provides a very visible, centrally located library with space for a variety of activities, such as individual study, small group discussion, and project work. Movable furniture can offer opportunities for rearranging spaces to accommodate evening meetings and presentations. The auditorium at Farmington High School, like many of our larger spaces, is inadequate to serve the needs of our community. A high school auditorium should accommodate at least half of the student population. Ours currently holds less than 1/3. Additionally, the space is not ADA compliant. This arrangement is problematic for large crowds, as entering and exiting the rows is difficult and distracting. Finally, poor acoustics and insufficient lighting for student productions hinders the capabilities for educational and community programming. A properly functioning high school auditorium provides a fully accessible space that serves the needs of the entire community as well as the students. It should act as a general place of assembly for everyone, as well as a learning environment for students, particularly those active in dramatic and musical events as performers, or as technicians in activities such as set building, staging, and media controlling. For that reason, features such as catwalks for stage lighting are designed with student safety in mind. Our cafeteria cannot accommodate the size of our current student body. 4 lunch waves must be organized, the first beginning before 10 a.m., which is when food can legally begin being served. Those students are not only scheduled for lunch at 9:50 a.m., but they must also get their food and eat in under 30 minutes. This is difficult with the number of students assigned to each lunch wave. Additionally, a minimum of 5 faculty members must be assigned to monitor each lunch wave, which is challenging given faculty teaching schedules. The cafeteria is also used for study halls in the beginning and end of the day due to insufficient classroom space. At times, nearly 200 students are assigned to a cafeteria study hall. This is hardly an environment conducive to student academic achievement, and again, several teachers must be assigned to monitor these large crowds. The new FHS provides a cafeteria that can serve not only as a space for dining, but also as a space for other activities during the day and on evenings and weekends. The space in the photograph is a high school cafeteria, and it also functions as a ticketing lobby for the auditorium and the gym, as a concession area, and as an assembly space for various meetings and presentations. The old gym is too small to hold any athletic events. Therefore, it can only be used for storage, small practices, and some gym classes. The main gym is not ADA compliant or handicap accessible when the bleachers are pulled out. There is no air conditioning, so it is often very hot during late spring and autumn events. It is also located directly across from the auditorium, so these two popular areas must compete in terms of space, sound, crowd control, and parking. The new FHS provides a gym for phys ed and athletic team events and is large enough for major assemblies of the student body. The high school gym in the photograph features a roof with a sawtooth configuration that allows daylight to enter into the gym, creating a pleasant, uplifting space. This gym is divisible by an overhead gym curtain and contains retractable seating on both sides. The high school currently lacks adequate breakout spaces for collaborative class activities. As a result, students must sit on the hallway floors when doing group work. This is not an ideal learning environment. The new FHS provides ample opportunity for breakout spaces adjacent to teacher work areas and near classroom clusters. Breakout spaces that are comfortable and attractive can offer greater opportunity for spontaneous discussion, group activities, and interdisciplinary teamwork. Highly visible areas such as the one shown in this photograph can be flexible gathering spaces between classrooms, and they can be the focal point of a smaller learning community. The location of the administrative offices in the existing facility is problematic. School administration does not have a direct view of the visitors approaching the building. In fact, the front office is located deep within the footprint of the existing building, quite far from the front door. Faculty offices are inadequate, and they are placed in various remote locations in the existing building. This does not encourage cross-disciplinary collaboration among teachers, and it makes interdepartmental planning very difficult. The new FHS administrative offices will be located in the main entrance of the building. This provides maximum views of people entering the building for security purposes. Faculty offices will be placed in each of the learning communities to encourage interdisciplinary collaboration. The existing building has been renovated and enlarged so many times that its infrastructure is poorly arranged, with multiple heating and cooling systems of various vintages, a bewildering distribution of wiring for electricity, and a confusing maze of piping for plumbing and drainage. This makes maintenance difficult and costly. Many components are outdated and replacement parts are no longer made. Most of the existing building is only 1 story in height, resulting in many roofs of different ages, with many joints between those roofs. The result is an existing facility that has reoccurring failures in its infrastructure. The new FHS is planned to minimize its roof area and its exterior wall area. The design uses energy-efficient walls and windows to reduce heat loss in the winter and heat gain in the summer. Walls will have more insulation and less infiltration, and new maintenance-free windows will improve security and energy efficiency. The new mechanical, electrical, and plumbing systems will be arranged to maximize efficiency and simplify maintenance.
All right, before we close out the meeting, we did receive one final question via Facebook. And let me just pull that up one more time. Richard, I believe this will be for you. Are there safety concerns given that most of the new school appears to have a glass exterior?
Sure, I'd be happy to answer that question. So concerns about safety are part of every school planning project. And what we do is meet with first responders, police department, fire department, emergency personnel to make sure that the details are consistent with what their needs are. Glass technology today is incredibly advanced, and what we are planning to do is include impact-resistant glass. We haven't gotten into the discussion about any kind of bulletproof glass, but that's something that we would need to discuss in confidential meetings, quite frankly, with security people. But first responders will also tell you, based upon my experience, that they need to be able to observe activities. And so consequently, many first responders say that glass is actually beneficial to those who come in and need to assess very quickly where problem areas are. So this will continue to be an ongoing discussion with the appropriate people in town. And I can assure you that a lot of consideration will be given to where the glass is placed, what kind of glass is being used. And remember, we are building a school where students and teachers are spending a great deal of time. So we want to make sure that we have the right balance of daylight coming in, as well as security features and safety measures. So we take this question very seriously, and I assure you that we will address it as we get into the details going forward.
All right, thank you, Richard. All right, now we will pass it over to Kat.
I think it actually goes to Ellen for this final wrap up.
My apologies.
Thank you, Devin. And, we do encourage you all to stay connected. We encourage everyone to visit our website. It's the officially sanctioned factual website. And this is your source. This is going to be your source for information and updates and presentations, recordings, and anytime that you have questions regarding the project. You'll also find us on Facebook and Twitter and Instagram. And we just want to thank everyone for being here today, for attending, and we thank you for your continued engagement.
Thank you, everyone. Have a great day.